What the actual hell? 6 in the morning. I step out in my boxers, clutching my first cup of coffee, just trying to water the yard before the sun scorches it. And right there where my azaleas used to bloom, 16 giant mailbox towers lined up like someone was prepping for a UPS parade, each one the size of a fridge, cemented right into my lawn. My driveway blocked. The air thick with diesel and the sour stench of wet concrete, and there she stands, Vivian, our glorious HOA president, with that plastic smile of hers. Isn't it great, Jake? Community mail upgrade? Great. Just fantastic. You turned my yard into a federal mail depot overnight without so much as a knock on my door. I took a deep breath, tried to keep the coffee from flying out of my fist, but inside I already knew this wasn't some clerical error. This was war. Vivian, she thought she could steamroll over a retired Navy mechanic, bless her heart. That's when the plan started forming. Midnight head spinning. I decided those mailboxes weren't staying put. Not if I had anything to say about it. But let me back up. Name's Jake Morrison. 3 months ago, I thought I'd finally outrun chaos. 20 years fixing helicopters for the Navy. My hands are calloused. My knees pop louder than a popcorn maker, but I still know how to get things done. My reward for all that: the messiest divorce in San Diego history. My ex got the nice house, I got my toolbox and enough cash to start over somewhere quiet. That's how I landed in Pinewood Springs. Looked perfect on paper, a little ranch, good neighbors, a place where folks wave at you because they mean it. I figured I'd set up a handyman business, help people with honest work, maybe get my peace back. That lasted about 3 days until Vivian Ashworth rolled up in her spotless white Lexus. 62 silver hair, never out of place nails painted with money, not a speck of real dirt under them. Her husband's a retired bank VP, the same bank, as it turns out, that financed half the mortgages around here. "Welcome to Pinewood Springs," she chirped, waving her clipboard like a wand. "We maintain very high standards here." It was less a greeting, more an inspection. She clocked every tool in my garage, every grease mark on my jeans. I should have known then I was being sized up. This neighborhood used to be working families, teachers, nurses, regular folks. Then property values shot up and suddenly everyone's terrified of lowering the investment. Vivian. She made herself the judge, jury, and executioner of that investment. Cross her, you get violation notices, legal fees, the silent treatment, until you finally just sell and get out. I learned all this from my neighbor Eddie, a 70-year-old retired electrician from Poland. Thick accent, the only guy here who'd say more than good morning. "She is snake in tall grass," he told me over the fence. "Hendersons, nice family," she chased them out. "Too loud, wrong mailbox color. Wrong skin color, always something." I didn't want to believe it until I painted my own mailbox navy blue, figured it was sharp, showed my pride. 3 days later, violation notice, $150, fine $50 more every day until compliance. I actually read the HOA charter. Don't laugh. Somebody's got to. Navy blue is an earth tone. I argued ocean's part of earth. Right, I took my paint swatch to Vivian's marble foyer, stood there with documentation in hand. She looks me right in the eye and says, "Military colors send the wrong message in a family neighborhood, Jake. We want residents who understand community standards." That's when it hit me. This wasn't about paint. This was about putting the working class vet in his place, reminding everyone who runs the show. Sitting in my garage that night listening to distant leaf blowers and the hum of air conditioners, I thought this place was supposed to be my sanctuary. Then city permits start popping up. Community mailbox relocation installation at 47 Maple Street, my address. Vivian just declared war, and she had no idea who she was up against. You see, 20 years in the Navy, fixing things, solving problems, sniffing out bullshit, I learned to spot a setup. Next morning, I hit the courthouse digging through dusty files till I find Vivian's survey. It claimed there was a public easement running 12 feet into my yard. But the real survey, no easement, no right-of-way. She faked it. And guess who signed off? Her brother-in-law. The surveyor lost his license in 2018 for falsifying documents. I take it to Eddie, spread everything across his kitchen table, and under that buzzing light, he just shakes his head. Always planning, he says. Always watching. Then Eddie shows me HOA minutes From before I'd even bought the house, a list of properties requiring community standards intervention. My name top of the list. Reason, non-conforming owner demographic. They'd profiled me from my mortgage app, divorced vet, blue-collar handyman. This mailbox nonsense, just phase one of a campaign to bleed me dry and force me out. But Vivian made one mistake. She thought I'd play by her rules. Time to show her how Navy problem-solving works. I caught up with her outside Whole Foods right as she was loading up organic groceries. "Vivian, we need to talk," I said. "I know about the forged survey, the targeting, all of it." For 2 seconds, her mask dropped. Real fear flickered, but she snapped right back, smooth as butter. "No idea what you're talking about, Jake." But her hands were shaking. That's when I knew she was rattled. Next morning, 7 a.m. sharp, my doorbell rings. Code enforcement badges, clipboards, the works. Unlicensed business fire violations, noise complaints for using my saw at 8:30 on a Saturday. Every fine another $200. I stood in my driveway, sun beating down, watching them take photos of my tools. Vivian's reach longer than I'd guessed. She wasn't just running the HOA, she had friends at City Hall, but I wasn't about to roll over. She wanted war. She'd get it. Next thing, glossy flyers start showing up. Concerned about your property investment. Neighbors start crossing the street to avoid me. Eddie, though he's got my back, invites me over. Pours strong coffee, opens his filing cabinets. He's got years of evidence, photos, letters, charts, all documenting Vivian's schemes. He flips through violation after violation: grass too high, mailbox the wrong shade, Christmas lights up past January. Pattern's always the same: harass, fine, bankrupt, repeat. The main event: concrete trucks roll up at dawn. They pour those monstrous mailboxes right into my yard. I film the whole thing. Postal supervisor looks confused, mutters, "This should have gone at the subdivision entrance." Turns out the HOA paid $15,000 for a $3,000 job just to stick it in my face. She was using community funds to fight a personal vendetta. But here's the kicker: that bad placement broke all sorts of city codes. Blocked sight lines, emergency vehicles can't get through, even caused a couple of accidents. When the ambulance couldn't reach Mrs. Rosalie's house, the complaints started pouring in. Vivian calls a meeting, tries to push through a $500 special assessment per family to hire lawyers to cover her tracks. Enter Maria Santos, night shift nurse, single mom, and the bravest person I know. She sneaks a recording at the meeting Vivian on tape saying, "Sometimes you have to make examples of people who don't understand how things work." That recording, legal gold. But Vivian wasn't done. My tires got slashed, garage lock superglued shut, basement flooded. No proof, but the message was clear: surrender or else. That was my line in the sand. No more defense time for offense. I took my file to the state HOA board. Every forged survey, every illegal vote, the harassment Maria's recording. The clerk looked at my stack of evidence and said, "We'll assign an investigator within 30 days. The next day, Vivian tried to call another emergency meeting to declare my property a nuisance and force a sale. Problem was, she forgot the fine print didn't have enough board members for a quorum. Tom Bradley, retired teacher and newly minted resistance member, shut her down legal and proper. Her hands were shaking as she packed up her papers. That night, Eddie showed up late. "Vivian's got a white sedan surveilling your house," he whispered. "Registered to Ashworth Properties." I started paying attention. Figured out it was her nephew pretending to be a private investigator. No license, no insurance. Another piece of evidence for my growing case. And the neighborhood. They were fed up. Eddie's informal poll showed 2/3 wanted the mailboxes moved. 5 accidents in 2 weeks, mail delays, the works. Vivian's grand plan had backfired. She tried one last play. A restraining order accused me of threatening gestures. All made up, of course. Sitting in my truck outside the courthouse, I realized this isn't about who yells loudest. It's about who's willing to read the rules, fight smart, and never quit. Back in my garage, I studied those mailbox towers, saw every shortcut, every weak point. Quick-set concrete shallow foundations, not built to last. Maria's network dug through HOA finances and found the jackpot, $127,000 missing. Fake repairs, inflated bills, all routed to Vivian's pockets. Eddie found a clause in the original HOA rules: if a community installation endangers safety, any homeowner can relocate it. No permits, no approval needed. I had the authority. And get this, Vivian's own house, bought before the HOA expanded, wasn't covered by any of her own rules. Perfect spot for 16 giant mailboxes. We planned every detail: equipment, weather cover, legal documentation, news crew on standby. Eddie's son-in-law Mike brought the crane truck. Maria organized the paperwork. Tom lined up the neighbors. Thursday night, as a thunderstorm rolled in, we moved. By 2 a.m., 16 mailbox towers stood in perfect formation blocking Vivian's garage. I left a laminated notice: emergency relocation, all city codes followed, full documentation provided. 6:47 that morning, Eddie texted, package delivered. I rolled over to Oakwood Drive, coffee in hand. Vivian in her bathrobe stared at those steel monsters in shock. Neighbors gathered, news cameras rolling. Officer Martinez read my paperwork, nodded. All legal. Channel 7 pressed Vivian on the embezzled money, the illegal surveys, the discrimination. Then Eddie handed over the metal box. We'd found master keys and logs showing Vivian had been snooping in residents' mail. Officer Martinez's face went stone cold. Ma'am, I need you to come with us for questioning. The crowd cheered. Tom handed out flyers explaining the embezzlement. Maria distributed copies of forged documents. The Hendersons, back to visit, laughed as Vivian was escorted away, bathrobe, slippers, and all. 6 months later, I'm still here. The navy blue mailbox stands proud at the curb, joined by neighbors' colorful tributes. Eddie's now the HOA president. Maria handles the books. Tom runs communications. Monthly reports, new playground, barbecues, neighbors waving again. The mailbox monument is a local landmark. People actually drive by to see it. Property values went up. Lawsuits recovered most of the stolen money, which funded real improvements, scholarships, legal aid for HOA victims across the county. Vivian pled guilty, paid restitution, and now does community service, helping folks she once tried to ruin. Funny thing, Justice. It's slow, messy, and looks nothing like TV. But sometimes karma shows up in steel and concrete. Last week I got a call from a staff sergeant in Colorado Springs. His HOA's trying to ban his service dog. Heard you know how to fight these people, he said. I looked around my garage, grinned. Sergeant, let me tell you about 16 mailboxes and the sound they make when they finally find the right home. So here I am, still fixing things, still living on Maple Street, still waving at kids, playing basketball. Those mailboxes. Permanent. Vivian's old driveway will never be the same. You know what sticks with me, though? For years, everyone just assumed the rules were stacked against them. Turns out most bullies are counting on you not reading the fine print. But if you do, if you stand up, gather your neighbors, and fight for what's right, well, sometimes justice shows up in the most unexpected places. Let me ask you, how many of you have actually read your HOA covenants or stood up to a neighborhood bully? Or maybe you've got a story of your own. A time you saw karma do its thing, sweet and slow. Drop it in the comments below. I bet there are a lot more villains out there and a lot more choices too.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video của mình.